you're also going to be at Comic-Con.
I
WonderCon, I'm sorry, tomorrow.
Yeah, well, because of the Wonder Woman movie, of course I'll be there on Friday.
I'll be there.
I'm going to go to check out the Prism comic booth. Because I've never met them in person. And
Tell us about Prism Comics. I know what Prism Comics is.
Pretty amazing and fantastic organization. A collective of people from the comic book industry pulled themselves together and with the goal of promoting and sort of cataloging gay characters within that universe. And they have a beautiful website, and I don't know how they find the time to do what they do in addition to their own lives, but it's beautiful. And they give out a grant each 2 years or every year to help someone create a book, and I put in my submission for that, so we'll find out if I win or not.
I'll be crossing
not
my fingers.
They, you know,
be crossing my
shouldn't
fingers.
Probably jinx it. And talk
I have a
about
very
it.
interesting question for you, because I actually never got into comic books. Had no interest in comic books whatsoever until I was 25, 26, and a friend of mine just had a comic book on the desk. I'm like, oh, it's a comic book, but I saw the cover, and I was just captivated by the cover, by the artistry. Started flipping through, and I discovered this is a really deep, compelling story. And that happened to me when I was an adult. When did you start to get involved in comics? Was that at an early age?
I always loved them as a child, but I didn't, like you, didn't realize the potential of what they could be until I was much older.
If I was reading them as a child, it would just go right over my head.
They don't register on the same level.
I would have no
There's some heavy things that
appreciation
happen
for it.
in these books.
Right.
Graphic novels.
They're graphic novels. They're graphic novels. Yes.
And within the structure of a story, you can tell so much through characters. They can mean profound things to people. And so when just that alone is enough to blow your mind.
What's your motivation for actually creating graphic novels? Is it just for the sake of
certainly
showing your art, or is it more about compelling other people to share your story, or actually being a role model or inspiring other people to come out of the shell?
I'd like to think I could be a role model, but I think I might be too lazy.
You'd be surprised.
I wanted some kid to find this when he needed it the most. So my ideal for this book is, you know, I would love it if people bought it and it did well, but I mostly care about some, like, 13-year-old boy who's lost and he's had a fucked up life, and he finds this and he'll say, okay, I'm all right.
Right.
And he'll get on with it.
Okay. And then hopefully he'll go from book 1 to book 2.
Yeah.
Tell us about book 2.
Well, book 1...
I don't want to spoil anything about book 1.
Should I give out the plot?
Give us a teaser.
No.
Give us a teaser. I don't believe in spoilers.
It ends dramatically with a treehouse falling down, and you're left hanging knowing what he's going to do next.
Right.
And it's a very dramatic moment where he has a conversation with his teddy bear, Frank the bear, and he takes off his hat, throws it down, decides he doesn't want to play this game anymore, he's over it. And the bear says, you know, basically just chews him out and says, put on the hat. And then from there they go on and rescue his boyfriend who's been stolen. Because the bad guys have stolen him to force him to write ransom letters for abducted stuffed animals. Which sounds so strange.
Doesn't sound strange at all.
And another interesting thing about this was the library angle. In here, the main character is obsessed with books, but he can't read, and his boyfriend can. And there's all this stuff about them looking at books and reading books, and just by accident, the show happened at the library. I thought that was like divine coincidence.
It has a suspiciously strong sense of
books are
of mirroring a lot of abuse. It mirrors a lot of abuse, a lot of control issues, controlling how people grow up, how they behave, what they can let into their lives, and very strong emotional coping mechanisms involved with that. It involves trauma, and
that's the sort of thing a book like this can deal with, isn't it?
Right.
Maybe that's why you were drawn to them at 25 instead of 12.
It's possible. But then there are people out there, children out there, that could relate to that.
Right, so an adult could read it, a child could read it.
So, there again, I'm letting you know that don't try to underestimate yourself. You could be a role model.
I'll try.
You could be a role model, and you could be an inspiration. And again, your website, for anyone that wants to find more information about where you're going to be,
ReneCapone.com.
ReneCapone.com, and you have a showing at Give Us a Place and Time.
Oh no.
Tuesday, March
Tuesday the
3rd.
3rd at 6 p.m. The San Francisco Public Library downtown.
Mhm.
In
Main
the Hormel
branch.
Center. Main branch.
Yes.
3rd floor.
Tell us about what people can expect to see.
I'm going to do a reading, which I have no clue how to actually perform yet. So that'll be interesting.
You'll be fine.
I'm hopefully going to get a friend to help me, Flower. And I think I would like to put up a screen and show it in a dark room and just read the voices of their characters.
Mhm.
So I'll have maybe a couple of friends help me and we'll just read it.
Okay.
And
Wonderful.
hope for the best.
Wonderful. What kind of support have you been getting from the community with your work?
I kept it under wraps for a while. So it's just sort of happening now. Everyone's been pretty phenomenally, the greeting towards it has been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been pleasantly surprising.
I want to know what
didn't
kind
make
of
it with the
reception
goal
you
of
got, because right now, given the status of the economy
Yeah.
and the status of
That
the comic
sucks.
book industry, it drives me crazy how
I don't care how bad the economy is. It's important. It's important.
it's important, but it's not very cost effective for a comic book to cost almost $4.
Either it's being an artist or being alive. So
It's a tough industry.
but you know
And
what? Kids
it
have
seems
more money
like
than
independent
adults, actually.
comics-
Kids will go buy this comic book because they care.
Yeah.
And adults got to pay their their bills. So
Right.
maybe that's good.
Yeah. But it's the new hope for the industry.
Yeah. And the economy will turn around. It has to.
It has to.
I mean, it's all fake anyway. It's not really real.
Yeah. Well, we got new hope on the rise. If anybody has any questions, I want to remind everyone out there that this is a live show. If you have questions for our guest, Rene Capone, author of Legend of Hedgehog Boy, you can give us a call. The number is on the screen. The number is 621-4473. You're watching SF Live. ReneCapone.com is his website. He'll be doing a show and a reading at the San Francisco Main Public Library on Grove Street, just at Civic Center. It's going to be on Tuesday, March 3rd at 6 o'clock at which hall?
The Hormel
The Hormel.
Gay and Lesbian Center.
Yes.
3rd floor.
Is your showing still up at Magnet on 18th?
Oh no, that was last year.
That was last year.
And that's how the painting for the cover came about.
If anyone, hopefully, well, there are samples on your website,
Mhm.
so it's gorgeous stuff.
Thanks.
You can't miss it. Totally can't miss it. It was very. I was explaining to him how I would describe your work. Most of your watercolors. It's very fantasy driven. It's very soft, fluid because it's mostly watercolors.
Mhm.
Tell me about the progression of your skill as an artist. Start off with pencils first.
Well, when I was a child, I learned to draw by drawing comic books,
Mm-hmm.
graphic novels.
Graphic novels. They're called graphic novels.
And then I went to art school and tried to be, like fancy. And then decided I didn't like it anymore.
You didn't like it,
Because being fancy wasn't complicated enough.
right?
So I think it was my boss gave me this pen one day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like free-flowing Indian ink sort of pen, and I started to draw lines again instead of that, perfect shading thing.
Right.
And it was just like a miracle happened.
It's like that's what you needed.
Yeah.
That's
and
all
then
you
that's
needed.
how all these paintings came about. And then after the paintings came the comic book, graphic
Mhm.
novel.
And I also
So,
want to know, what are
it's
you
been
looking
a
forward
very
to
big
for next year? I know book 2 is going to be coming out.
Yeah, book 2 will come out. I'm sure I'll do it obsessively. I thought I'd take a break, but
What are your
I
biggest
didn't.
challenges with finishing a book?
Having enough time and energy to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and enough willpower to force yourself. It's there are only so many hours in the day, and that's it.
And again, so much of your own personal life goes into it. I'm sure it's got to
Yeah,
be
that was tough.
emotionally
I had a
draining.
great therapist, though.
It's got to be emotionally draining. So congratulations for you. You're halfway done with book 2?
About,
Mm-hmm.
unless it gets even longer.
Any chances of a book 3?
I hope not.
Yeah.
I would like to do somebody else's story or something different.
Who would you like to work with?
I don't know. It'd be great if someone gave me a story that I could draw just as well.
Mhm.
It wasn't so much involved with me. And that'd be fun.
What are you looking forward to most over the weekend when WonderCon hits?
Just to see how many geeks there are in the universe.
Oh, there's going to be a lot. I've been there myself. In case someone doesn't know, WonderCon is the comic book convention